Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. So I'm pretty excited for today's video because I'm going to be teaching something that isn't on YouTube. So you probably all know of Robert Lang's scaled koi, the one with hundreds of scales. It's pretty complex, but there's no tutorial on YouTube for the fish. But it's not the fish that I'm going to be posting a tutorial for, it's going to be the scales, because there's no tutorial on YouTube for the scales. I was having a lot of trouble with it personally, but then I figured it out, and I want to show how, I got it figured out. So, here is what the scales look like in the, when I got finished. Here's an example of some of the scales on the fish. So, I'm going to be showing you how to make this today. You can put it to use for other diagram or designs if you want to modify others, but this is just going to show you how to get the basics down for making the scales in the first place. So here we go. So the first step for this model, or for the scales, is to fold a grid. So I'm going for, let's see what I use for this. Now we're going to do a 16 by 16 grid. So here we go. So yeah, just get that. I'll see you when I'm done with mine. If you don't know how to fold a 16 by 16 grid, you probably shouldn't be watching this video because it's really easy to make. Anyways, if you don't already know, it's basically where you fold the paper in half until you get a grid 16 by 16. Back to making the grid. Okay. So, again, what I was saying, you essentially, all you want to do is just fold the paper in half until you get a 16 by 16 grid. So what you want to do, fold the paper in half on both sides. And then divide those in half also. So like this. So currently we have an 8 by 8 grid, well, in eight separate parts divided onto the paper. So you're going to want to flip it over. I always do this because it makes the dividing a lot easier. But, so you fold each part in half, like this. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Again, keep dividing over and over until all those parts are divided into like this. Okay. So keep dividing. This video might be a little bit hard for you to watch because it's inverted, so I'm folding towards me, so it might be a little bit hard for you to follow, but keep folding in half, over and over. I don't know if I already said this, but I know the setup's pretty bad right now. I just moved, so I'm trying to get settled here. But I'm gonna switch it around in a bit, so it should be a bit better. Future videos might include, like making some double tissue, tissue foil, bleeding tissue, all sorts of different types of tissue papers. Camo tissue. Anyways, lots of different videos coming up. And also, I really haven't uploaded in a long time. So, you know. Okay, there we go. 1/2 done. Flip the paper over, and again, do the exact same thing until you get a 16 by 16 grid. Another model that I'm working on currently is the Flasher Big Bang. So that also requires a pretty big grid. Okay. Again. Okay, there we go. Flip the paper over and fold. And again. And again. I always like folding like this because it's a lot easier to lift the paper up and fold it directly onto the next crease. It makes it a lot more exact. So that's the method I always use when folding grids. Of course, folding grids isn't very much fun, but you get used to it. So the scales on these scales are going to be quite big. When you're actually folding the koi, you don't want them to be very big. So it's going to be a lot harder when you're actually making the koi fish, because it's smaller paper. But if you get used to making the scales enough by practicing, then it should be pretty easy. Okay, last fold. There we go. The grid is finished. So the next step for this is to create basically the pattern that the fish is gonna be on. So this part I always find to be pretty fun. So here we go. First step is to get it so, wait, no, wrong step. So the second fold, mountain fold, you're going to fold that over once, because I always like starting out with some extra paper on the ends. Okay, again, oh wait, no, sorry, not that one, the mountain fold. So crease line, probably easier if I just draw this out. So you're going to fold mountain fold, and then valley fold. So like that. And then for this, it's going to be mountain fold, and then valley fold. Just like that. fold the paper like this, mount and fold, and then valley fold. And again, mount and fold, and then valley fold. Can you continue doing this pattern over and over until you reach the end? So again, mount and fold, valley fold, mount and fold. Again, sorry if this is pretty hard to see. Mount and fold, valley fold. Mount and fold, valley fold. Mount and fold, valley fold. And then mount and fold, valley fold. If your paper does start to look a bit like a staircase, like this, that's perfectly okay because it will eventually get down. And when you're making the actual koi, don't use paper so springy like test paper. Use a little bit, don't do a paper that springs up because, like printer paper or test paper, because it's really, really hard to deal with it when you're making the scales. Anyways, put that to the side. First step. So the first scale is going to be right here. So what you do for this model is you pull this out like that. So it's in like that. You pull the paper out, and then you pull this edge. So then you have the little opening, and you collapse on this crease and this crease, or fold those down, and then you have something like this. Then you go like that, and create valley folds along these lines. And then mount and fold along those. So it should look like give me a second, I want this to be a little bit less sloppy. Should look like this when you're done with that step. Okay. For the next scale, I want to do pretty much the same thing, except it's going to be a little bit harder because you already have this scale right here. So I'm going to show you one more time how to do this, just in case people are a bit confused. So I'm going to try to keep this down so it doesn't block the view. But your paper should look like that. And then to get these right, you're simply going to open this and squash like that. So just a squash fold, nothing too complex. So I think for this, I'm just going to do the other steps after we do the entire thing. Anyways, so you do the exact same thing for the next scale. So I'm just going to draw this out for you real quickly, because when I first did it, I got really confused because I thought you do just everything in a line, and that's completely wrong. So numbering out, this is going to be 1, and then this one is going to be and essentially it's just going to go like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, And you're just gonna keep going down the rows. So here we go, the second ones. Again, you're gonna lift this up, pull this paper out, and then pull. Okay, nice. So you have that, like that. And do the exact same step and squash. Just like this. Again, if the viewing is really bad, please comment so I can redo this video later with better camera setup. So again, pull this out. Give me a second. Yeah. Pull this out and pull this. Then you have those two. And then squash right here. There we go. Nice. So now you have 3 flaps that are open, which are going to become scales. So on this model, it's going to be this flap, and this flap. There we go. So for the next ones, number 3. Same thing. Open up, pull, and then collapse and squash. The really cool thing about these scales is that when you're done making it, you can apply them to all sorts of models. So let's say you want to make another type of animal that's scaled. Let's say just an origami angelfish. You can scale the paper, make the paper scaled like this, and then after you're done with that, you can just fold up the model. For the middle ones, it is a bit trickier, but it's not too bad. So pretty much the exact same process. Again, I'm sorry if this is if I'm obstructing any of you. There we go. Open up, collapse. It's not collapsing as much as I'd like it to, or as well as I'd like it to, but it's still collapsing. There we go. Again, I'd like my model to be a little bit less sloppy, but it's okay. Still works. Again, open up, pull out, and then collapse and squash. I'm going to do every single scale with you, just so you can get every single one, and you don't get messed up or get confused like I sometimes do when following other tutorials. Again, open up, collapse, and then squash. So I just found out that you can do the pre-creases. So crease them, little cheat, and then collapse, and or squash, and then it's a lot easier. I just realized I skipped one. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scales that we have done. The other number 4s, here we go. Open, collapse, and then squash. There we go. the next number 4. Open, pull, collapse, and then again I'm going to use the cheat again, cheat and pre-crease, and then squash. Makes it so much easier. There we go. The last number 4, and then we're going to move on to number 5. So pull out, and then pull these edges here, collapse, like that, and then you can do the pre-crease again if you'd like. I'm going to, just to make it a little bit nicer. And then squash. There we go. Nice. Now we're going to move on to the number 5s. Okay, moving on to the number 5s. So, you can probably already notice that the paper is sort of hunching back. So it's, instead of looking straight like this, it's just hunching back like, I don't know how to describe it, more like a cobra head, a little bit, like that. But what I find is really cool, it sort of does look like a hedgehog or a porcupine. So I may modify another model and make the back like this, so it has all the spiked points and looks really, really cool. Okay, here we go. Moving on to the number 5s. Let me just write which ones we're doing again. So, the ones that we are doing right now are the 5s, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 5s. Okay, so I'm going to start from this end. So what you do is pull the paper like this, and then pull this out, and then you have the, this one is definitely a bit harder to do because it's one of the end pieces, but then you have it like this, and then you squash, like that. Nice. Okay. So the next one, pull this up, you have this here, pull this out, again, use the little cheat, like this, and then squash. Again, next thing on number 5. So, pull this, squash, like that. Pull this, collapse, like that, and then squash. Okay, almost done with the number 5s. Again, pull this, like that, there we go. You have your thing right here. For the outer wet ones, I'm going to do the pre-crease because I want to get this nice and looking good so it doesn't look super sloppy. There we go, pre-crease, squash. There we go. Starting to look more and more like a hedgehog. We're gonna fix that by the end of the video. This will be all fixed. So now moving on to the 6s. 6. So it's these 4. For this, again, just like the 5s, you open up, pull out. Give me 1 second. There we go. Collapse, and then squash. Nice, there we go. 6. Pull this to the side, pull out. There we go. And then squash. Sorry. For this step, again, pull out, pull, and then squash again. Doing literally the same steps. Okay, here we go. Squash again. Pull this, pull out, collapse, like that. And then squash. There we go. Oh, sorry. Now we're moving on to the number 7s, just to let you know. So it's 3. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 number 7s. Again, collapse, and then squash. There we go, that's nice. Pull out, pull this, collapse it, and squash it. Pull out, pull it out again, squash. Right there. That's nice. Okay, here we go. The next one. Pull it, collapse it, and squash it. This one is a bit harder to work with because it's one of the very last pieces. Those are a bit harder. Anyways, here we go. Collapsing it. There we go. Nice. For this one, again. There we go. And then for the very last one, did I do the very last one on this one? I think we're just gonna leave the very last one. Wait, on this? No, we're gonna do the very last one. So, this one should be pretty easy. Put like that. Like that. 1 second. There we go. I'm going to do the pre-creases for the very last one because it's going to help a lot. So pre-crease one way, and the next, and then squash. There we go. If you did, by the way, make it this far, thank you. Pretty long video, that's for sure. Anyways, there we go. We got part of the scales done. We got the hard part done. The next part is syncing it. After we're done with this, there's 2 more steps. The very last step is probably the easiest. So, what I'm going to do first is fold every single point that's on here backwards. Like this. There we go. Again, if this was less sloppy, it would be easier to do this part. So the neater you can do it, the better. There we go. There we go. Continue folding it down. Nice. Almost done with all this, and then we're going to move on to the next step. So you have every single triangle on here folded down, right? Yeah, that's good. So after you do that, you're going to use these for the sync folds. So essentially, what you're going to do with every single point that you just folded back, you're going to sync fold it. So if you don't know what a sync fold is, then I'm going to show it to you right here. So essentially a sync fold is where you sync the point. So it's going to be an open sync, so you're going to come from behind, open this up, and then sync it here. Just like that. Sort of like an inverted water bomb base. There we go. Again, if this was a lot neater, it would be a lot easier. Fold this, open this up, and sync. Find that doing syncs takes pretty long. So let's get them done. Okay, here we go. By the way, if you guys have any suggestions for other videos or tutorials you might want me to make, such as, let's say, a Kawasaki rose or something like that, go ahead, comment them down below. Just tell me what you want me to make. So, yeah, here we go. Continue syncing. We're on the 3s now. Another thing you can do, which makes it, I don't know if this would be easier for you. It's not easier for me personally, but it might be easier for you. Never mind. I was thinking that you could fold this back, sort of like spread it on there, like this. And then, yeah, I'm doing a really bad job of explaining it. Never mind. Just go back to syncing. Okay, there we go. Almost done with the 3s. When you're done with this, I believe it's going to be quite a bit of skills. You can actually fold something with it when you're done, like, let's say you want to make Montrose angelfish or something. you can fold that with the scales, and then you'll have a scaled angelfish or something. So yeah, there we go. Moving on to the 4s. Anyways, if I continue showing how to sink every single one, it's gonna take too long, so I'm just gonna skip ahead. Anyways, see you when I'm done sinking all of them. Okay, I'm finished with the sinking of all the little points on the scales. So now we're moving into the next part. So I'm going to start with the top, and then we're going to work our way down. You don't have to go in this order, but I personally find it easiest. So essentially what you're going to do for this step is pull this up, but then fold this inside using this crease, reverse it. Sort of hard to explain, but you'll see how it works. So it's like this. Open this up, and then reverse the creases. But it's only one crease that you reverse, pretty much. Okay, so now let's do that on this one. Again, open up, and then reverse the creases. So yeah, there we go. Got it. Okay. On the back side, pretty much stays the same. But once you do this to all of them, then it will start staying in place, and it will not branch out. So again, I'm doing that to these. It is a little bit hard to see since everything is overlaying white. So everything is white. So I think maybe on the next one, I will color in the part that you need to reverse. So this part, those two parts, we're going to reverse. So, and just like that, we have them reversed. There we go. Got the 3s all done with. Now moving on to the 4s. Okay, there we go. It's nice. There we go. And as you can see, it's starting to not curve. As soon as you do that, it sort of locks it in place, which makes it so it doesn't curve, which is really, really nice. As if it was curving on the fish when you made the fish, that would be so hard to deal with. I don't know how I would deal with it. I'd probably just like have to use methyl cellulose or something to keep it in place. But if you do have to do that, it's fine. It is a way to work around problems, definitely. I think once I made Lang's mousse, and I had to use some glues to keep it from coming apart, because I was using untreated Locta. Like, that's this paper right here. Super thin, but not crisp at all. Very soft. Maybe in another video, later video, sometime soon, I'll show off my entire paper collection. Then you guys can see how much paper I actually have. By the way, the Nepalese Locta, I didn't buy it for $5 each. I just happened to go to Nepal and found it at 75 cents a sheet. Normally these sheets do cost $5. So I was super lucky to have such a bargain. Anyways, moving on through the scales. I'm going pretty quickly because if you are advanced enough to be following this, you should be able to get these down pretty quickly. Again, the main reason I'm doing this video is just because I couldn't figure it out when I first started making the scales, and it took me a little bit of time to figure out the order that they went in. And so I figured, you know, maybe people have the same problem, so maybe I can help out. So yeah, there we go. Give me a second. Just get that there. Okay. There we go. This one seems a little bit weird. But yeah. So I messed this one up, actually. Let's see. There we go. That's better. That's better. Okay, next row. Okay. Reverse this crease. Okay. Give me 1 second. This one is a bit tough for me. There we go. We got that. If you do need to go back and look through it to make sure that it's on point, go ahead. I have to do that too. So feel free to pause the video at any moment. Go back, just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm probably gonna make a time-lapse video sooner or later of a model or two that I make. I don't know. And then I might end up teaching when I'm at, I'll show what model that I'm gonna teach next in a later video. So that the model is actually my design. I wanna make a video so I don't forget how to make it. Gosh, that'd be pretty sad. Anyways, basically, give you a hint, some sort of boat, and it relates with a creature. So there you go. That's your hint. Oh yeah, I messed this up. Let's see. Let's go back and redo this step. So like that. There, we got one. There, second one. It was okay anyways. No mind. That was a glitch right there. There we go. Now we're moving on to the next row. Again, this is not going to be a short video. If I do ever end up making a video for how to make the entire skilled koi, it's going to be a long one, like a long one, especially if I do every single step, because I don't really want to end up doing 400 skills showing you how to do that. I believe there is a time-lapse of the koi on YouTube, and that one took 11 hours, so it is really hard to make it. Well, not really hard, but it just takes a long time. I find that lots of people label models hard because of how long they are or how many steps they take. But if you actually dive into it, a lot of models aren't actually very hard. Like, take for example, Kamiya's Hercules beetles. Both of them, yes, sure, they take a long time to make, but they're not very complicated. Like, they're actually quite easy. I believe when I made the first his first Hercules beetle, then one that wasn't flying, yes, it took me a while, but it wasn't difficult. There was only one step that was a bit challenging because the book that I have, Graceful of Origami, is only in Japanese, so I couldn't read it. So, but I did find out how to do it eventually. That's weird. There we go, got that fixed. Almost done, and then I'm going to show you the very final touches to make it look exactly like this. Of course, the paper that I'm using is a little bit different, so it will not look exactly like this, but it'll look pretty similar. Anyways, also this is only, I'm sorry, but this is only the second time I've ever made it. I just found out how to do it properly, and I'm just like, there's no YouTube tutorial for this, so might as well just make one. Yeah. Almost done. Okay. Another thing is, when you're making it, do it any method that works for you. So if you want to do each thing step by step, each specific piece, that works. If you want to just do them all the same step at once, that also works. Okay, so for the next step, it's a little bit different because when you're making this, all you have to do to finish this off is to round off the points. So what I'm going to do for this is you don't do it all the way when you round the points, you just do it a little bit. So of course, not every point needs rounding because, you know, they just don't all need rounding. But you have certain ones, like those, all the pointed edge ones, you're going to want to round like that. Perfect. There we go. Okay, yeah, this paper is a lot easier to work with than the printer paper because it is a bit crisp and it holds, it doesn't come apart like the printer paper. Just small little creases, nothing much. Just enough to make it look a little bit more like scales instead of boxes. Okay. There we go. There we go, not bad. Perfect. More of these small little creases may not seem like much, but they make a huge difference when you complete the final model. Because, you know, without it, it would just look like boxes, and you don't want boxes, do you? Continue rounding off all these little points. Almost done, over halfway done, and then the video then we'll be done making this scales. Okay, almost done. I know this is a really long video, a lot longer than my normal ones, but that might start being the trend. More complex models like this, and longer videos, hopefully a little bit more helpful. I sort of made my own journey through origami. I believe when I first started making tutorials on this channel, they were all very simple. I really was into kusadamas at the time. That's how I really got into origami. I thought they were super cool, super complex. really amazing, actually. I still have quite a few to complete. I made all the parts, just haven't assembled them. Anyways, yeah, might show those in future videos. But here we go. When you're done rounding off all the points, your scales should look like this. When you're done with making them, you can try putting them on other models, such as you can try to make Lane's koi yourself. I know these two look like very different things, but they're the same. Anyways, see you guys in another video. Bye.